This is New Church with DJ Twiggy.
Why are some churches better at attracting millennials than others? Well, I've done a little research and this is what I've come up with. So the first thing that I found is millennials look for if you are real. And by real, I mean, are you really worshiping? Are you really going to be into what you're teaching? That's one thing they really look for. Another thing that they look for is a visual messaging. And what they mean by that is it easy to figure out where they're supposed to go or what they're supposed to do? Because when they show up to church, are they going to know where the sanctuary is really easy? Are they going to know what Sunday school class to go to? All stuff like that. Another thing is they're wanting to know if you're going to reach out to today's culture. A lot of churches are scared to reach out to today's culture today because they don't want to get out there and get all that sin on them. Millennials want to reach out and reach the lost. They want to be able to lead, which leads me to my next point. Millennials want to be able to help lead and change the church. They believe that they're going to change the world one day. But how are they going to do that if we won't let them lead? These are just some simple things that you can do to help better your church to attract more millennials. Because all in all, we all learn from each other, don't we? So how are we going to teach them if we're not willing to learn from them? What are the differences between a box church and a kingdom-centered church? For those of you that don't know, a box church is a group of people that go to church instead of actually being the church. And some of the things that I found were kind of interesting. For instance, a box church worships only on Sunday mornings, when a Kingdom Center church worships every single day. Another thing that I found that was kind of interesting is that a box church prepares people just for Sunday worship, as a Kingdom Center church prepares people for the rest of the week. Now think about that. I mean, really, if you're bringing people in to hear the gospel, don't you want to prepare them for the rest of the week and not just that day? Another thing that I found that was kind of interesting is that a box church only has the ministers teach, as in a kingdom-centered church has everyone prepared and ready to share the gospel. Everyone should be willing to share the gospel no matter who you are. The minister shouldn't be responsible for doing everything in the church. I mean, they can't do everything on their own. They're going to need help. So why can't we take a step out of our comfort zone and go out and share the gospel? I mean, it's not that difficult, is it? I mean, I know I struggle with it sometimes, but still, I mean, we need to get out there and share the gospel without fear. So, old churches versus new churches. So, if you think about it, today's churches have really changed on how we worship, how we dress. Even the buildings have changed quite a bit. So back then, the church buildings were built so that way everything was focused upwards. So like the steeple was pointing towards heaven and the glass windows were showing up towards the sky. So that way you could really come in and focus on Jesus, which is a really cool idea. But today's churches have really changed, guys. I know for certain that there is one church in particular that has church service in an old car garage. I mean, and that's just today's culture. We've changed so much. Even on how we dress. Back then, ladies wore dresses all the time, every Sunday. You wore your best dress on Sunday morning. All the men were wearing suits and ties. That's just how they dressed back then for church. When today's culture, girls can wear pants. I mean, it's not that big of a deal anymore. I have a friend personally, every Sunday, he wears a t-shirt and blue jeans because that's what he's comfortable in. I mean, our saying is come as you are. So why can't you just come in whatever you're wearing? I mean, we shouldn't judge people based on what they dress. Am I right? Another thing is worship. Back then, churches used to open up the hymnals and sing one or two songs and then listen to like a 2-hour long message. When today's culture, the attention span has really gotten short. You come in and we get to sing all these contemporary songs. Some of them are kind of old, but we no longer sing out of the old hymns. And today you come in and you get like a hour-long message, maybe 30 minutes at the most. Because today's culture is so short, what's the word I'm looking for? Has such a short attention span. That's the word I'm looking for. And it just takes less to be able for them to achieve more. I don't know. I think I would much rather go to today's churches than back then because, again, I'm more of a modern day kind of girl. I'd rather go to church in my blue jeans and t-shirt and get to hear the great worship and really just be able to focus on Christ and not have to worry about what everyone else thinks of me. Let's talk about prayer in school. Today's culture says that it's not good for you to be able to pray in school. But why is that? What changed? Well, the research that I found said that back then it was okay for the school to lead the students in a prayer before school started, and that was fine. But some Jewish families and some families in New York found it unconstitutional because of the First Amendment, separation of church and state. Now, I still don't understand why it would be bad for the schools to lead students in a prayer. I mean, they've gotten around it some by having 5 minutes of silence at the beginning of school every day for students to be able to pray silently to themselves. But isn't that just as bad as leading them in a prayer yourself? I mean, for me, I know whenever I was in school, the 5 minutes of silence didn't really work. Students would still sit there and chit-chat during the 5 minutes, and the teachers wouldn't do anything about it. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems kind of like a little bit of a waste of time. Well, I would much rather the school lead me in a prayer than have 5 minutes of silence where no one is respecting you while you're trying to pray. It's a little distracting, in my opinion. So let's change the subject a little bit. So I know for my church, the old pastor we had was really big on church numbers. Like how many people we had in service in Sunday school, and the more people we had, the better. Which I get, that's a great thing. It's really good to have a huge number of people. But why? Why do you have to keep track of it? Isn't it just great that people are coming? I mean, why do we have to stick a number on somebody whenever they come and get baptized? Or we have to stick a number on somebody whenever they go to Sunday school? It's not right to count up how many people you have in Sunday school or in service and then brag about it. I know that my old pastor that was in my church, he used to lie about the numbers a little bit to make our church look better. And that's not right, guys. I mean, think about it. How would you feel if you had to lie about your church numbers? Why are we even taking up the numbers in the first place? I mean, people are coming to church. It's great that they're coming, but I don't understand why we have to count them up and turn in a certain number of people that are coming. I get that we want to keep track of how much we've grown and how many people have shared the gospel and accepted it, but I feel like it's wrong and that we don't need to stick a number on people, especially lying about it. Like, that's horrible. If you're going to keep track of who's all coming to church and how many people you got, then, in my opinion, you don't need to be coming. If you're going to have a church, you need to focus on the people, not the number.
This is New Church with DJ Twiggy.